Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Sam and Cole podcast presented by Black Creek Outfitters. Great to spend a little time with you, and if you're looking to spend some time outdoors or just looking for some new stuff, they got really fun new stuff there. Stop in Black Creek Outfitters, say hi to Joe or John, anybody in the Butler family. And one thing that I've always said about that place, Cole, when you walk in, somebody will say, "Can I help you?" And that's a rarity these days. So Black Creek Outfitters is the presenting sponsor of the Sam and Cole podcast. Cole, this week it's been interesting to be over with the Jaguars because you can tell they're smarting from being 0-4. And as Gus Bradley said on Monday, that's a good thing. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting over there on Monday in particular. And you've spent more time around players this week than I have. I've spent some time with Gus. But it was it felt like a different kind of thing. It felt like they've turned a corner here in terms of expectations or maybe implementation of those expectations or something. Doesn't it feel like that not only have the fans said, geez, enough, yeah, it's great that Bortles is in there, but enough, let's be competitive. But I think the players and certainly the coaching staff is feeling that right now.
You know, when you start, and we talked about this on Monday, when you keep saying, you know, our goal is to get better every day, at some point you got to get better. And at least to the layman's eye, it doesn't appear that way. Now, I did spend some time with Gus again today, and that's one of the questions I asked him. As a coaching staff, you know, do you actually see that you're getting better? Or is it just something that you continue to say, hoping for it? And he said it's all, at this point, with a young team, it's all about consistency. He said you cannot play one good play and play two bad plays. And, you know, there is accountability. I mean, you know, they cut Cameron Bradfield, they cut Winston Guy. They're sending the right messages. The only question I have, I went back and read the preview of the season that was written in one of the magazines, and they said Gus Bradley brings a very basic defensive scheme. It's the same scheme they play in Seattle. The difference between the two is Seattle has the horses to run it, Jacksonville does not. Mm-hmm. And if it's all about, as Tom Coughlin once said famously about 12 games into the year, these are our players, then if that's what it's all about, then it's a waiting game for Jacksonville Jaguar fans.
And so putting this in the perspective of that 2015 is the big year for the Jaguars, right? That's the year that from the beginning, Gus Bradley and David Caldwell said this is going to be a 3-year thing. It's going to take to 2015 to really be able to showcase. But I don't think that you can in the NFL go from this to this. I don't think you take the huge leap. I think you have to have incremental improvement in different areas. And so you start looking, all right, is the pass rush better this year? Yeah. It's incrementally better, largely because they brought in better pass rushers and Branch has developed. And, you know, they've addressed that. Is the offensive line any better? No, not right now. Maybe it will be when Bowanko and Linder get more comfortable and Pastor gets in there, and if Jokel starts living up to the billing as a first-round pick, and I'm not saying that it's time to label him as a bust at this point, but I want to see better out of Jokel as a second pick of the draft.
I agree with that.
Quarterbacking, is it getting better? Yeah. We're seeing that. Running game, not getting better. So you can see the patches. Right now, I think, as far as the Jaguars are concerned, pass rush and quarterback play are the two things that have the best upside or that have improved the most at this point. And the good news is, even though that's only two things, the good news is those might be the two most important things in this era of the National Football League.
I agree with that. It might
be the most important to have a quarterback and a pass rush.
And, you know, while I've often said that I think baseball is the game that mimics life the closest, in that it's an individual performance that contributes to a team effort, I really do think football is an ultimate team game because you really do have 11 guys trying to get one goal, and if they all don't do their job, then it doesn't work. And that's why Gus has said this week, rush and cover go together. You can't have one without the other. You got to have both because you can rush all you want, but if guys are running wide open, then guys are going to find them. And again, this week,
can I give a counterpoint to that though?
Go right ahead.
On Monday night, I mean, again, I'm not saying Gus doesn't know what he's talking about, but on Monday night, does anybody know if the Chiefs covered anybody?
Well,
it didn't matter because Tom Ali was living in the backfield, right?
Yeah, I mean, but they weren't running with nobody covering them.
Yeah.
And that's where the Jaguars are.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time the quarterback hits his back foot, he's already letting go of the ball. He knows where it's going. Nobody's even covered the guy.
So is that scheme or is that players?
That's players, I think. That is, and either players not understanding the scheme well enough or don't have the physical ability to get that particular thing done. Think about, what Seattle did last year, whether it was Cam Cameron or what's the other guy's name? Earl Thomas?
Yeah.
Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, right, at the safety position. And then Richard Sherman, and who's good at covering a space. So when you look around, the Jaguars don't have a single player who would fit in, who could challenge for playing time in Seattle. So, and any one of those guys who wanted to come here would start right away without any difficulty. So, yes, I think Jonathan Cyprien is a good player. He is not a Pro Bowl player yet. He is a good player, potentially a very good or maybe even great player. But Alan Ball, journeyman, decent corner, which is a hard position to play, but certainly not anybody who's going to scare anybody to death with his half of the field.
What's
Dwayne Grott's not going to play this week.
Well,
so
and
now,
and
all of a sudden you go into Demetrius McRae and Craig Lawston, who was on the practice squad last week.
And you've got to cover a guy in Antonio Brown who has been terrific for Pittsburgh, and against Big Ben. The Big Ben the Big Ben and Bortles comparisons, right, are going to be that's going to be the big pregame story, comparing the quarterbacks. But I think it's more about how do the Jaguars do anything to stop the Steelers throwing the football?
Because last week showed that an experienced quarterback, by the time he sets in the pocket, he already knows which guy is open, because the Jaguars either aren't creating the pressure and the scheme behind it that I think is making a difference. And if you don't get better defensive back play, if they don't coordinate with what's going on with the front seven, this is what it's going to look like every time you play a quarterback that knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and that's the big concern, because you may be able to get away with it against Cleveland or Tennessee or somebody, but when you play anybody who's got an established veteran quarterback, I think they're going to be in big trouble. One other storyline this week is the Ace Sanders return, and how much Ace is going to be in there, how much he's going to play, how much of a factor is he going to be. I kind of think he's going to have a bigger factor in if he's back to returning kicks than he is running routes.
He'll be their punt returner, and they do have a small package that they installed for him this week. So it's not a big one, but I mean he's going to be their slot guy, and they need help there. They're going to be without two guys that they thought would be starters all year long, and so they're going to. It's nice that he's back, and while we talk about Ace Sanders because all we can remember is the great things that he's done. I mean, it's not like he's a world beater.
No, it's not Jerry Rice returning to the line.
Right,
here.
Exactly. So,
but they are in such bad shape at the wide receiver position right now. When you mentioned Shorts and Marquise Lee, who they had penciled in as the starters, are both out this week. You've got Allen Robinson, who's less than 100%. You've got Ace Sanders, who's returning to action. You've got Alan Hearns, who is as good as he has been as an undrafted. It scares me, when he's open and finishing the ball.
Yeah, right. Do you know who the leading receiver for Tampa Bay was last week?
For Tampa Bay last week.
Yeah.
Louis
Murphy.
Oh, okay. Former Gator.
Mm-hmm. Former Gator, right? Played for the Raiders for a while.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Was on the Tampa Bay roster at the beginning of this year, beginning of training camp, and he was among the last cuts. He's been sitting at home for 3 weeks. Tampa Bay brought him back, and he was their leading receiver. And I think this tells you a lot about what the Jaguars are doing. They would rather have Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns in the game and develop those guys maybe in a losing cause than bring Louis Murphy in, who was on the beach and could have been signed by anybody. But, I mean, so why didn't the Jaguars sign him? Clearly better than anybody on their roster.
I think it's because Dave Caldwell believes what I believe. If you're going to stink young. Don't stink old.
Well, okay, but that's what I'm saying. To me, that's the thing. If you're going to talk about wide receivers, you got to talk about developing these guys, not, hey, can they do this or that? Because you can go find guys that can already do this or that. What they're really doing is developing these guys down the road.
Yeah, I absolutely, and I think that's why the point about stinking young is you can get better if you're young. If you're old, no good. You're just no good. So one of the things that I think here is going to be an interesting study is to see how much pressure Gus Bradley and Dave Caldwell feel as the season goes on if the Jaguars are 2-10 after 12 games.
None. They're going to feel none.
You think you think because they had laid out that it was going to be a 3-year situation and Shad Khan is ready to go for that?
Unless they lose every game, and particularly the one in London. If they lose to Jerry Jones in London 35-10, 44-10, then yes, Shad's going to say something to him. Other than that, I don't think you're going to hear any of it.
You know, it's interesting because we talked about this before. Shad Khan appears to be a very patient guy when it comes to the NFL, and does not appear to be particularly patient when it comes to Fulham. So it's interesting the two different approaches there, and I also recognize that a lot of times in the Premier League and other top professional leagues, you get guys who'll be run out fairly quickly, and there's more turnover sometimes, although not always. Alex Ferguson.
Hey, couple good wins. Yeah, couple good wins. Arsene Wenger has been at Arsenal.
At Arsenal forever. Yeah. So,
but hey, couple good wins for Fulham, and who knows? Maybe this guy who is the caretaker coach, as they like to call him, could be the answer.
Could be the guy. What are your expectations then for Sunday against Pittsburgh? What, shy of a victory, what's a positive that the Jaguars can accomplish? What will you say? Okay, that's a minimum where we can say yes, that's better.
I need to see some sustained drives, some running game that matters. This game will test their toughness, as any game against the Steelers will, and I think that's an important thing to establish for a young offensive line. I want to see a final score that is in doubt midway through the fourth quarter.
That's exactly what I was going to say. When you're in single digits left in the game in terms of minutes, under 10 minutes to go, I don't want the game to already be decided in the Steelers' favor. That to me, if you can get there so it's competitive, even if so, single digits in single digits. If you're down by 9 with 9 minutes to go, great. It's something. Mm-hmm. That's a step forward. From a smaller scale, I want to see the offensive line hold up in the run game. I want to see them opening up holes in the run game. I think you're more likely to see an offensive line win some running situations more quickly than you are necessarily against pass situations. So I want to see that. And the other thing, I do want to see the comparison between Bortles and Roethlisberger with my own eyes on the field at the same time. It is something I am looking forward to.
I do think that they both have a similarity in that they both can keep plays going. Mm-hmm. They both are very sturdy. And I think Bortles has the potential to have a better arm than Roethlisberger and, better speed than Roethlisberger.
Although when he was younger, Roethlisberger really ran very well.
But he doesn't have that sturdiness that Roethlisberger has, that you wonder in year 2 and 3 as he gets in a professional lifestyle and lifts weights and does all those things. Is he going to get more of that? Like I said, to me, he still looks like the 2-year-old that you're grooming to run in the Kentucky Derby as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, it's true, and it looks like he can compete there. You can project it very easily. You can see that's where he needs to get to in order to be in that position.
Hey, congratulations to the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, thank you.
Your favorite team.
I grew up as an avid Royals fan, and 29 years between playoff appearances, much less victories. But I will mention now the Royals are now on a 4-game postseason
winning streak.
Yeah.
That's right. So far, since we're taping this on Thursday, and they haven't played again yet. But I got to tell you, that was one of the best baseball games I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
And down 7-3 and come back, and how they tied it, how they played the game, using the bunt, stealing bases. I mean, all of the anti-Earl Weaver stuff. Who Earl Weaver would sit there and wait for the 3-run homer.
Right.
And you guys are creating runs. And I thought the stats that TBS, I think TBS does a better job these days than ESPN broadcasting baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I like pitch track or not. I can't decide.
I like Ripken in there too as a third guy in the booth. I don't think he can carry it as a second guy, but I think he offers some good things as a third guy. And they're much better than they used to be in terms of their coverage. I agree. Now that's the first time I've watched a TBS broadcast in probably 5 years.
But I like a lot of the stats and stuff that they brought forward, particularly things like stolen bases after the 7th inning.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that you don't really kind of you'd have to ferret that out. And then they brought that to light, and it really showed you that, hey, the Royals really use speed on the base paths as a big-time opportunity to score runs.
It's whenever the Royals have been successful throughout their history, they have been steal bases, hit doubles, pitching and defense kind of team. And they're not a great starting pitching. That bullpen, the last 3 are fantastic. They've been maybe the best, 1-2-3 punch in the bullpen in baseball history, maybe this year. The way they've been.
I hated it when Willie Wilson could steal bases against the Orioles.
And he did often against everybody. Well, Willie Wilson and
Frank White, Amos Otis.
A little bit. John Wathan at one point held the record for stolen bases in a season by a catcher.
That's right.
Guys who could run. And Brett could run. George Brett could run in his younger days, for sure. So it's sort of an old-school throwback style. And it's interesting, all the bunts that Ned Yost uses. He was kind of getting hammered, obviously, for the bad decision to pull Shields when he did. But somebody put up on Twitter a picture of Ned Yost's 1983 Topps baseball card. He's squaring to bunt.
Squaring to bunt?
As a member of the Brewers.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be fun. And I would love to see a Royals-Orioles ALCS. But both have...
that would be fun. Yeah, I hated the Brewers back then, too, so that's okay. they were in the American League East at the time.
That's right, when there were only 2 divisions. Back in my day, you had to win a division to get in the postseason.
Damn it!
Get off my lawn!
All right. That'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast. We'll be watching baseball as well as the Jaguar game that's coming Sunday, and we'll check in after the Jaguar game at home against the Steelers. Be a lot of Steeler fans there, which is fine. People think that this is unique to Jacksonville, that we don't sell tickets. No, anywhere you go that the Steelers are playing, there are a lot of Steeler fans in the stand because they really do travel.
And because a lot of Steeler fans live in places that aren't Pittsburgh.
Right, and can't get tickets to their home games.
Yeah, or they're in Orlando, or they're in Middleburg, or they're in
right.
Valdosta,
which is just fine. So that should be fun on Sunday. We'll update you once again coming up afterwards, Sunday night after the game, and we'll try to post it as soon as possible. The Sam and Cole podcast is brought to you every time by the folks at Black Creek Outfitters. Stop in and see them at the Town Center for all your outdoor kayak, stand-up paddleboard, you name it. They got it right there at Black Creek at the Town Center. We will see you after the game Sunday.